sentiments with respect and affection.
27. dönem 5. yasama yılının bu yüce kurumla birlikte ülkemize
And
ve
I hope
milletimize
that
hayırlı olmasını diliyorum.
the opening of the fifth legislative year of the 27th term of the Grand National Assembly will be auspicious for our country. From the foundation of our Assembly on, all who served in the positions of Parliament membership are remembered with gratitude. We have also many deputies who passed away, and I pray to God for their rest in peace, and I wish the best of health to all those who are with us. Using this opportunity, I also remember with gratitude an important political figure who served as a deputy 5 times and minister. My dear brother, Oğuzhan Asültürk, I pray for his soul, and I convey my condolences to his family and members of his family and his friends. Starting with the veteran Gazi Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, I would like to extend my thanks to all who assumed role. From the Malazgirt victory on, we have held tightly on each inch of this soil, and I remember with gratitude our great veterans and martyrs who worked hard for that and who put their lives at risk. And I also thank to all soldiers and security forces and officers who are at call, and I wish them the best of success. Our Parliament, our Assembly, received the title of being a veteran venue twice throughout history, and it has been a unique institution which has always kept its path. Just like in the face of the War of Independence, in the July 15 attempt, our nation never allowed the dirty hands of some to touch this sacred place and its roof. In every busy legislative year, you, our distinguished deputies, exert a lot of efforts, and your efforts and all work has been registered in history with appreciation. And now our nation knows that if the lights of the Grand National Assembly is on, if the Parliament is working, if our deputies, our MPs are in their seats, then, God willingly, our country will stand sound and tall. Every statement made in the stand of the Assembly is stated, is articulated for the interest of our nation. Just like every struggle we take up with our nation for the construction of a greater and stronger country, we will achieve altogether. Our National Assembly, the productivity of which is growing every passing year, will be successful and deliver its responsibilities deservedly in terms of achieving our 2023 and 2053 goals. Brought to attention very recently, the proposal for the designing of a new constitution for the good of our nation. I guess this proposal will be successfully achieved by our Parliament. A new constitution which will be prepared with the insights taken from our nation will be the biggest gift we will present to our people in 2023. And all group parties at the Assembly are kindly asked to share their proposals as regards the new constitution to be before long. We started this initiative and all our preparations are underway, and the Great Assembly will be making the final decision. Prepared directly on the basis of the national will, this first constitution proposal, I believe, will be supported by the members of our assembly, distinguished members of our great assembly. Last year, when we convened, we talked about our Azerbaijani brothers and sisters and expressed our support and shared our prayers for them as they were fighting to liberate their own soil. And thanks be to God, after 44 days of struggle, Azerbaijan emerged victorious. And the Azerbaijani soil and Karabakh, which was under occupation for more than 30 years, has been liberated again. And we visited Baku and Shusha and shared the joy of our Azerbaijani brothers and sisters. And hopefully in the forthcoming weeks we will again meet our Azerbaijani brothers and sisters. In the aftermath and also before the Karabakh war, all developments that unfolded indeed worked as a litmus paper for us and our Azerbaijani brothers and sisters. About Turkey and a country that tried only to liberate its own soil were attacked, and we will never forget all the articulated words that smelled dissension and hatred, but hatred only. We will always stand for solidarity, togetherness, unison, and we are a country that takes each and every step it has in this direction, from Syria to Libya, from the Balkans to Caucasia, from Somalia to Afghanistan. We acted with the same principle, and we are going to. Our rights and defense, our interests are protected in the Mediterranean, and on the other hand, we support the steps of our Turkish Cypriot brothers and sisters for the two-state solution on the island. And in this framework, starting with the reopening of a closed Marash, we have taken many steps forward, and we will do. In Western Thrace, the Turkish and Muslim communities are to be protected in terms of and pertaining to international conventions, and we will be struggling for that at each and every platform. We will be standing for the rights of our Crimean brothers and sisters within the framework of the territorial integrity of Ukraine, and also and for Uyghur Turks, we will be following all the developments so that their rights are claimed and used at the highest level possible. From Rohingya Muslims to those who are trying to survive in the vicious circles of poverty for their livelihood in Africa, we will be keeping our the doors of our hearts open for everyone oppressed. And we have always stood with the downtrodden everywhere in the world, in every corner of the world, and we will do that. And in our history, thanks be to God, we do not have any trace, any stain of colonialism, unfairness, or injustice. And we, for that reason, go to every location, keeping our heads high and our shoulders back, and we speak our demands very much clearly. At the UN General Assembly, to criticize the irregular structure it has, we also spoke about the world is bigger than five motto, and the fact that this motto has been adapted so much is because of that. Every development unfolding in our region and in the world shows how to the point this is. Very recently, the new Turkish house that came operational and was inaugurated is indeed a symbol, a glorious symbol of the all-inclusive approach of our perspective. And starting with the Secretary General of the UN, we hosted many other guests, and the new Turkish house, which has now been put to use, will be serving all friends and brothers and sisters, along with our own officials and foreign missions. We personally observe the ever-growing reputation of Turkey in the international arena, and we are pleased, for we have adorned our foreign missions with such a great work of art. Looking to the west and east simultaneously, there was a two-head eagle, a symbol, and with this, of course, nobody has the right or the place to attempt to disconnect Turkey from both sides. Now, leaving the 10th year behind, the Syrian crisis in terms of the actual humanitarian support and also management of the refugee influx and migration failed, and we saw that Turkey, on one hand, welcomed 4 million oppressed people, and on the other hand, we saw those who panicked in the face of a migration wave of maybe 1 or 2 million people, and we also saw people who indeed avoided showing humane actions. We saw some refugees whose boats were attacked and punched, and who were left to their fate and left to death. Those who showed such behaviors also violate the relevant UN Convention and resolutions. As regards the refugee traffic in the region, the EU has started a structure to follow up. However, we see that it has slowed down its practices. Recently, in the dark waters of the Mediterranean, there are many who lose their lives, and even the statistics of that cannot be kept. And the fate of tens of thousands of children who are missing in Europe and in other regions are still not known. A concrete and notable study as regards that is not available even. And only those matters on a standalone basis show that the communities who respect the humanity and we see the same in terms of the terror organizations in Syria. Using Daesh as an excuse, there are some who turn the region upside down, but they have not fought Daesh on a one-on-one basis or face-to-face. Only Turkey encountered and stood against this terrorist organization in the field and also crushed them. But still there are some who are in Syria using Daesh as an excuse for themselves and continue supporting some groups that do stir up the region. And we know that there are some who take disguise to materialize and put their own interests into action. But for that, we see that there are millions of people who lose their lives and millions who get displaced. But despite all that, it is about our responsibility, our obligation to stand for all such oppressed people and all persecuted. We have not been drawn into a crisis of security and welfare just because we did what we had to do. But those who did the otherwise will fail. There are those who think that the world rotates around themselves, and in the face of all political and social atrocity and in all changes in the nature, have started seeing the real truth. The scarcity in Africa indeed is not a problem of those people living there, but it will be better understood that it is a common human problem. The melting of the icebergs in the polar areas will not only concern the penguins living there, but will be a problem that concern all living beings in this planet. Those who flee the internal conflicts in certain regions of the world indeed also concern everybody in the world, and this will be understood better that it is a danger that concerns each and everyone in this world. And people do not live in designated areas, and a problem in the world is a problem for everyone in the world, and this will be understood much more clearly before soon. And in this picture, by strengthening its structure and position, Turkey has adopted a vision that will pave the way further for its flourishing. The 2023 goals we attach to the significance of the foundation of our republic and its centenary. We will be observing those very clearly. And I firmly believe that our nation and our Grand National Assembly will be keeping a close track on all relevant developments, from education to health, from security to energy. In all fields, the state institutions and governments stood tall and also initiated many movements, and those movements, I believe, laid the grounds of such a strong infrastructure. And this vision, which has become now a national vision, has been covering all individuals, all members of this great country, and we, each and every one of us, should embrace that daily, because there is no other Turkey, and for none of us there is another homeland, and there's no other state for us, and there's no future for any one of us. And we should always keep in mind that we cannot grow by dividing.
Parçalanarak güçlenemeyiz.
You cannot get strong by
Kardeşliği
uh,
kökleştiremeyiz.
fragmentalizing, and you cannot strengthen or consolidate a democracy by holding on obsessions. You cannot have larger horizons by desisting from the values that are peculiar to you, and the destination we walk towards should make sure that we stand next to one another, closer to one another. And we have watched with shame what happened to other countries who acted the otherwise. And those who tried to put Turkey in such a position have failed so, and they will fail in the future as well.
Milletimizin her bir ferdinin feraseti,
For the resistance, foresight, insight, heroism of each and every member of our nation, we have achieved that. And I would like to extend my gratitude to everyone. And on the other hand, another big service we delivered for our nation was to do with the changes we made in our security strategy. Thanks to this new security understanding that aims to make sure all threats disappear, we have prevented the establishment of a terror corridor by our borderlines. Abused by many for decades, the Kurdish issue as some coal has been solved in all its dimensions and scope by our government. For our citizens in Diyarbakir province, we made promises. The politics of assimilation, rejection have been tackled, and the chain of reaction has been broken apart, and the masks of those who still aim to abuse it for their own interests will lose their masks, and we will make sure that those masks drop. And we also know that the mothers of Diyarbakir, with their well-made terror organizations, shake out of fear, and we also exposed them. And using this opportunity, I would like to once again greet Diyarbakir mothers, or mothers of Diyarbakir, for their great resistance. Turkey maybe has missed out on the industrial revolution, but is a country that has made it to this very day by keeping up with the most recent developments. The world is now at the verge of a new and well-rooted to be transformation. From climate change to artificial intelligence, many intertwined matters come our way, and to keep up with all, we have great advantages. Over the past 19 years, the mileage our country has covered in democracy and development has been even further strengthened. And adding the multi-dimensional tests that come our way over the past decade, we see there are still many opportunities for us to seize. Every critical test we survive and endure means some mileage we cover towards the direction of further enlightenment. And in the global system, we will not miss out on every opportunity that we can utilize. And on the other hand, we will address the aspects of economy that touch the lives of people, and this is of great importance, a special importance. Just like everything Turkey has achieved over the 19 years, the responsibility of economy also lies on our shoulders. The $23 billion of debt of Turkey to IMF was fully paid, and we left an era which we do not remember with good memories. Even though some people continuously ask where our central bank reserves are, and our central bank reserves now stand at $122 billion. From the past to our day, our national income has tripled, and in terms of the purchasing parity, Turkey increased to the 11th rank, and in terms of employment, export, import, and growth, Turkey has broken records, and we now see such a country rising. And the recent challenges, of course, should be included into the same picture. We shall not forget. However, making an analysis of profit and loss, we can recognize very clearly that the profit and the plus points are much higher in scale as compared to the opposite. And I would like to share some figures with you. As observed by everyone, the world has been struggling with the challenges brought our way due to the pandemic. The global crises that took place in the past and in other centuries also prove that we are going through right now a much more destructive era in political, social, and economic life. What we knew was right now has been destructed. And the commodity prices now increase sharply in terms of the supply chain. And there are shortcomings, and this also translates into bottlenecks in access to raw materials. And unemployment continues to be a global matter, and in many countries we observe budget deficits and also insolvency rates rocketing, and the inflation threat becomes bigger globally, and there is much more lack of clarity. IMF and the World Bank, like institutions which were founded to give direction to the whole world, now are in a significant crisis of management. The global institutions which we endured for long years now are questioned in terms of their capabilities and capacity for the management of economy. On one hand, the COVID-19 virus revealed the political and economic irregularities that has spread to all corners of the world. While in the face of all that, Turkey has been one of the few countries which has which have managed to grow even bigger and increase its power. In such a critical era, of course, certain realities should be put forward and exposed sincerely, and we have to define our roadmaps accordingly. First things first, we all know that this pandemic has not emerged in Turkey only, and the whole world was indeed facing and has been facing the consequences of this big health crisis. The big health crisis and its aftershocks have been tackled indeed in Turkey thanks to the fast, speedy decision-making mechanism that has been brought about with the new executive presidential system, and it is a reality that nobody can deny. In the field of health, all services have been delivered to our people with no delay and no problems or whatsoever. In particular, our city hospitals have been adorned with high capacity, and these hospitals ensured that we met the extraordinary load that came on the shoulders of the hospitals, if you will. And in terms of the medical supplies and all other products and materials, we have not faced any problem or any deadlock. However, we saw that many developed countries even fell short just because the capacities of their hospitals and healthcare institutions fell short. And some images and footage that upset, frustrated many across the world emerged. And in the face of such a global crisis, we are very pleased that we reap the fruits of our investments in our healthcare sector. On the other hand, over the past 19 years, we have also seen the reflections of all positive and negative developments in economy, and during the pandemic, we also was faced with that. However, while protecting the health of our people, we also ensured that our opportunities, all means are mobilized for the livelihood of our people to ensure that the employment rates were kept high and also all operations run smoothly. We commissioned many incentive programs. We stood with our citizens and our craftspeople. We allocated grants and also many financial assistance to our small shop owners, and we also deferred the payments for premiums or taxes. We also opened a path for the restructuring of taxes to be paid by our citizens. We also reduced certain prices in renting, and we also kept many sections of the society alive by way of offering many other sorts of financial assistance. And in the next periods to come, we will continue to offer all we have at hand. Thanks to such policies, we have distinguished ourselves from many countries in the world with a positive growth. And I also would like to make a comparison to offer you some striking figures. If you remember, in 2009, when there was a serious economic crisis, both the world and Turkey's economies that shrink, and as compared to 2009, last year we observed more than 3% of shrinkage in the world economy. However, on the contrary, Turkey grew by 1.8%. And of course, this success was not peculiar to 2019 and 20. In the second quarter of this year, we achieved a growth figure of 20.7%. 7% and also grew in the first quarter of this year of 2021. Investments and net export contributed much to a stable growth, and we neared more and more to our goals of sustainable and stable growth. With strong industrial production and export, and also with the contributions to come from the services industry, our economy will grow more and more. And we hopefully project that we will close the year, end the year with a 9% of growth.
Büyümeye istihdam artışı da eşlik ediyor. Bu yılın ilk 7 ayında
Growth runs parallel to the growth in employment. The increase in employment rates translated to 1,000,007 additional jobs. And among OECD countries, as compared to the pre-pandemic period, Turkey has been one of the few countries that registered an increase in employment. And we also have determined on our midterm programs. And we forecast that we will grow by 5.9% every year. And every year we will add 1.2 million new jobs. And our national income will stand at more than $1 trillion. Indeed, these were some goals we aimed to achieve in the past, but still, despite all the predicaments and calamities, we will achieve those goals, even maybe with a little bit of a delay. And this will translate into more equal distribution of income and also produce further growth in employment rates. And with this, our midterm programs and economy programs will be resolutely put to use and practiced. Dear citizens, only production, employment, and also export rate increases and also reduction in current deficit accounts will help Turkey to take a fresh breath. And we, for example, in export has achieved our historically high figures. Our export volume stood at 210 billion, and the export-to-import ratio has come to a very pleasing figure. With no doubt, a Turkish industry has a lot of share in the success we have had. With a dynamic and highly skilled capacity, the industry in Turkey adapts itself to the novelties very rapidly. And with this, the $211 billion of export volume will be even exceeded. With the strong import rates and also a recovered tourism income and also gold procurements, we have seen positive growth very clearly. Investments, for example, in the world did decrease by 35% on average in the world, but in our country it was not the case. And we also commissioned many hospitals, many emergency case hospitals, and two of them with a bed capacity of more than 1,000 have been put to public use during the pandemic. We also opened many facilities, drinking and sanitation facilities, industry-related organizations, and also works of art, many projects, bridges, water dams, and many other projects. And the private industry also kept ongoing with its investments, and more than 10,000 investment incentive documents issued indeed show that clearly. and we have now 325 industrial zones now, and in many industrial zones, new works are being undertaken, and this also will contribute to our current account deficit more and more, and we will have established all the necessary infrastructure in this direction. Thanks to the stability of our private sector, we believe that we will rid ourselves completely of the problem of current account deficit, and this way we will be bringing higher the scales of the international investments in our country. Other than encouraging our own entrepreneurs, we also will work and use every opportunity to ensure that the global brands also are attracted to our country. And this way, we will be making our investment incentives much more attractive. And in the new system, equity oriented and cluster investment projects will be attached with more importance. And to ensure that our SMEs are also added to the global system, we are making preparations, and in terms of bioenergy and healthcare, we will be bringing our country to a global level. Last week, for science, novelty, innovation, we indeed met the Turkish youth at a Technofest one more time. All young people who participated to Technofest also proved how high they have raised the bar in terms of technological advancement. And in the future, we will be making our investments even bigger and bigger in the future for technology and innovation. Of course, while speaking those all, we do not ignore the problems related with inflation. Turkey is not a country that has high inflation rates coming its way for the first time in the history. And we have a lot of tools and experience in managing high inflation rates, from macroeconomic policies to structural changes. We are determined to bring the inflation rates to single-digit numbers. For food, both scarcity and also increasing input prices come our way, and we take measures to reduce those. And we have now an early warning system which will address the extremely high prices. We also have more competitiveness control mechanisms, and we will be indeed very resolutely working to ensure that the companies who adopt extremely high prices are audited and controlled. Turkey takes its power from its strong, resilient banking sector as well. The active size of our banking sector is 6.7 trillion, and the capital adequacy ratio is 14.4, and structural transformation ratios are also very high. Starting with the SMEs, the real sector also should be supported by the financial sector. This goes the same for the sustainable transformation of our real sector. And for that, attracting funds from abroad will be what our banking sector achieving, and they will assume a leading role, I believe. And for that, we want to render our banking sector more and more resilient through capital market instruments. We expect banks to offer long-term investment opportunities for the potential investors, and we diversify the financial instruments in this regard.
Garanti fonunu
In this regard, the Bond Guarantee Fund and for sustainable environment projects, for better projects, green bonds, and the Sukuk guideline will be put to use. Our strong stance in public finance will be also preserved as regards the budget deficit. The budget deficit forecast for this year is 3.5%. For the procurement of vaccines and also drugs and expenditures for natural disasters, payments as regards the inflation rate differences made for our shop owners and craftsmen, of course, brought in additional burden and pressure on economy, and for that we have taken certain measures. And the performance, thanks to those measures, increased in terms of income, and we can very easily project that we will achieve our 3.5% budget deficit by the end of the year. We also strengthened the structure of our debt stock. The EU defined debt stock has been much less than the 60% ratio, which is a criterion set as pertaining to the Maastricht criteria. We will be practicing very cautious measures and to be prepared for the foreign related fluctuations. We will continue with our strong economic policies. Another important subject that is raised more and more in the world is, of course, climate change and also natural disasters that come in tow with it. In terms of our environmental sensitivity, Turkey has already occupied a very distinctive position. Thanks to and through our Ministry of Urbanization and Environment, we have materialized many projects, and these are sources of pride for us to take. And we have now national gardens, and we have increased the areas of our forests. From zero waste project to blue flag projects, we have achieved many numerous projects. Last week at the UN General Assembly, we announced that the Paris Climate Convention will be submitted to the Grand National Assembly for ratification, and it's the first good news of this term, and Turkey will plan and materialize all its actions accordingly. And in line and harmony with the European Green Deal, we will be shouldering our responsibility for our citizens, for our people, and for the next generations, and we're determined to do that. In terms of energy, the renewable energy resources share, such as power, solar, and nuclear, will increase in our total installed capacity. For a generation of natural gas and its storage, we will have more investments. In Akkuyu, the construction of the nuclear power plant is still ongoing, and the first unit of that will come operational in 2023 May, and we will take all the necessary steps to construct other nuclear power plants. We will be reducing the energy intensity in industry, and on the other hand, we will concentrate on low emission and clean practices and encourage all for that. In transportation, the share of seaways and railways will have a higher share in freight, and also electric and hybrid car usage will be higher. And we will also make sure that the zero energy using buildings and blocks are constructed. To reduce waste, we will further strengthen the recycling and recovery processes. The capacities of forests, which are indeed significant water absorption areas, we will expand the forestry areas. The recovered or recycled materials will be used in higher diversification. And all those liabilities will demand a lot of sacrifice and great work. And the fact that we shoulder such a liability is because we consider this as a security problem for our own country and for the whole world. And in this direction, for the financing of all those projects, we will be utilizing all international funds, including the developed country funds. In terms of natural disasters, search, rescue, and rebuilding, but on the other hand, risk management will be of great importance in this new era. Related to climate change, our risk management plans will be further sophisticated. The meteorological incidents that become rougher and rougher every passing day demand a stronger forecasting and warning system, and for that we will be developing new projects. For the wildfires that burned the forests but also our hearts, we will be being exemplary in terms of effective response to wildfires using helicopters and all extinguishing equipment. For the reconstruction of the building stock, we will be much more effective. This goes the same for more effective usage of water resources and also infrastructure that is in harmony with the climate change. In husbandry and agriculture, we will disseminate sustainability-oriented methods more. And from health to tourism, in all areas, we will be preparing action plans, and we will be putting them to use and practice them to the fullest. This way, this most important and assertive goal of our 2023 vision will be successfully achieved, I believe. The green development revolution, as we express it, should be embraced by all political parties in our country, we believe. And in the forthcoming periods, we will also concentrate on further strengthening of the family structure and further development of our education system. Hopefully, when necessary, we will be consulting about that with our National Assembly, and when necessary, with all relevant parties, we will discuss, negotiate, and set our roadmap. With those thoughts in mind, I once again hope that the 5th legislative year of the 27th term of the Grand National Assembly will be beneficial for everyone, and I wish the best of success to our deputies in the new term. I would like to greet you all wholeheartedly, share my love and respect with each and every one of you. Thank you very much. Stay in health.
Sayın Cumhurbaşkanımıza teşekkürlerimizi sunuyorum. Birleşime 5 dakika ara veriyorum.